Girlfriend Simulator by Ebi-hime. The pain, when it hits me, is intense. It comes on so suddenly, I feel like I'm going to be sick. It hurts more than I thought it would. It hurts more than I can endure. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts. But then, a miracle happens. My vision turns white. My lungs spasm in one last desperate gasp. And then, there's nothing. I'm finally free. I thought it would be scary, which is why I tremble so much. But I think I'm getting used to it now. It's not that bad, really. Not existing. There are worse things you can do than disappear. Mu? Hey, Ayumu. Can you hear me? Please tell me you can hear me. Wake up! You have to wake up! Don't do this to me! Ayumu? It sounds like someone's calling out to me. I can hear a voice, high and anxious, cleaving through my comfortable, cozy state of non-existence. My head is starting to hurt again. What's going on? I open my eyes slowly, groggily, and glance upwards. There's somebody standing by my bedside. Somebody I don't know. She has long fair hair tied into a ponytail, and she's wearing clothes which I suppose are fairly fashionable. As far as appearances go, she's quite cute, and it doesn't hurt that her face is so sweet either. Her eyes are very wide, her iris is indigo, and her nose is small and snub. Her lips are pale pink like cherry blossoms, and they're parted in what I suppose is concern. Her skin is white like milk or like snow, and her fingers are slender. She's slender in general, really, so much so, it looks like a gust of wind can blow her away. She's so pristine. In her ruffled blouse and her high-waisted skirt, she hardly looks human. Her facial features are all too perfectly arranged. I can't see a single blemish on her skin. She's almost too pretty. What is a girl like this doing in my apartment? I feel dazed, and the girl's breathy exclamation of relief when I open my eyes does little to reassure me that this isn't a dream. Oh, thank goodness! I'm so glad you're finally awake. You were out for hours, Ayumu. I was so worried. I don't know her name, but she seems to know mine. Are we friends then? We must be more than acquaintances, given the familiar way she's talking to me. I don't remember having any friends like her, though. I don't remember having any friends at all. Wasn't that why No. I better not think about that. My head is starting to hurt again. Oh, I'm sorry, but this is all kind of a lot. What's going on? Oh, you poor thing! You must really be sick if you have to ask that. I'm sick? Yes, you are. You're very, very sick. Your temperature was almost 38 degrees when I last checked. You were passed out when I came here, and that was, I'd say it was about 2 hours ago? I've kept myself busy since then, cleaning this place up, but I was very worried about you. I'm glad that you decided to call me this morning. I'd hate to think of you suffering on your own. You were so hot, I was even thinking I might have to call the hospital. The hospital? I blink, trying to disperse the white, hazy spots which are flickering in front of my vision. My apartment is shifting, and so is this girl's concerned face. It feels a bit like my reality is being filtered through an old VCR player. Everything keeps juddering. Am I really that sick? You look pretty sick, yeah. Though you haven't actually been sick, thank goodness. That's a relief. It seems like your fever might be breaking now, though. You sound pretty lucid for the most part. Maybe I should test you, though. How many fingers am I holding up? Just the one? That's right, and now? It's still just one? Good, good. I'm glad there are no problems with your vision at least. Now, what's your favorite food? Pork cutlet, I think. And your favorite book? That's, it's a light novel series, actually. But, I love Elf Forest by Suchi Mirui. Right! And your birthday? That's... October 6th, I think. Very good, and my birthday? That's, I don't know how to answer to this. Not that this should come as too much of a surprise. How am I supposed to know this girl's birthday when I don't even know her name? I ponder this for a few moments, my expression contorting. The girl must see my obvious distress because eventually she takes pity on me. Silly Ayumu, you've always been so bad with birthdays. My birthday is only a few days before yours, October 1st. Don't forget it, alright? Maybe you ought to make a note of it. It might come in handy later. When exactly? When you want to buy me a birthday present, duh, for being such a great girlfriend. The girl giggles. And what about my name? Don't tell me you've forgotten that too. Your... It's here that I begin to struggle. I thought I might recognize this girl the more time passed, but we've been talking for a few minutes and that still hasn't happened. I can't recall her name for the life of me. It isn't even on the tip of my tongue. The girl frowns. Well, that's no good. I thought you were on the mend, but maybe I was jumping the gun. I mean, geez. Imagine forgetting your own girlfriend. Huh? Now, that's a surprise if I've ever heard one. You're... my girlfriend? That's right, I'm Nagi, and we've been together for a month already. We were talking to each other for longer than that though, of course. We've only been going out for a bit, but I thought you'd recall at least that much. I thought I was special to you, Ayumu. Oh, great. Now she's pouting at me, and it's quite effective actually. What should I do? Tell her you don't remember her. I'm sorry, but even if you are my girlfriend, I don't remember you at all. Are we really a couple? Well, of course we are. Nagi glowers at me, and it's quite an unnerving expression, actually, which makes me tremble. Why does she look so angry? I understand being upset, but I wouldn't lie about this, Ayumu. Do you think I'm a liar? No, I guess not, but... Well, good. Don't ask me silly questions then. It's quite hurtful, really, being told by your own boyfriend that he doesn't remember you. If you weren't sick as you are, I would be upset. But it's to be expected. I guess that you'd be a little confused given you have such a high fever. I guess I can let you off the hook. For now, at least. Would you like me to fetch you any ibuprofen? What about some water? Oh no, I don't go out of your way. I'm sure I'll live. You'd better. If you don't, then I would. Well, let's not worry about that right now. I think you need some sleep now more than anything. Do you want to get some more shut-eye? Do you mind? It would seem a bit rude inviting you over then spending the whole time asleep. Oh, think nothing of it. I came here to help you after all. And if sleeping will help you, which I think it will, then that's what you should do. Don't worry about me. You should be thinking about yourself right now, silly. Just relax, you hear? Your super cute girlfriend is going to do her darnest to help you recover. I'm not going to leave you until we've got that fever of yours under control, and that frown turned upside down. Right? Nagi's voice is high-pitched and it hits me like a freight train. It's relentless. I'm not sure if listening to her spiel makes me feel much better. My head is still aching, though. I suppose I appreciate how determined she is to cheer me up. I still can't quite recall having a girlfriend, especially not one this devoted, but... well, whatever. I'm sick. I must be confused, like Nagi said. I shouldn't pay too much heed. I yawn. Tears begin to bead in the corner of my eyes. Obediently, my eyelids begin to fall shut. I feel so tired. Yes, that's right. Get some more sleep, Ayumu. Sleep as much as you like. I'm not going to leave you. I'll always be here to take care of you. I promise. I'm not sure how long I slept for, but when I wake up, I feel distinctly groggy. I blink, attempting to disperse the white spots that are scattered in front of my vision. The back of my head is still pounding. I still feel out of it regardless of how much I've slept, which might be why the sight of the girl sitting at my bedside shocks me so much. It takes me a few moments before I realize that I've seen her before. She was sitting next to me last time I woke up. She said her name was... Nagi? That's right. It's good to see that you're awake, Ayumu. You were out of it for ages. You really must be tired. Well, that answers one question I had. I was wondering how long I'd been asleep. I am pretty tired, yeah. I look at my bedside table, searching for my digital alarm clock, but I can't find it. Now, that's funny. I was sure I had a clock here, though I don't recall using it very much, not in the last few months at least. I didn't have any need for it. Did I throw it out? I don't remember doing that though. I don't remember much of anything. Oh? Nagi must have noticed my expression twisting because she frowns. Is something bothering you? You're not in any pain, are you? Oh, no, I'm fine. I just wanted to know what time it was, if you knew. The time, I think it's about midday. You woke up at 9, but you've been sleeping the last 3 hours. 3 hours. That's quite a lot. Yeah, you were asleep for a while. Like I said, you poor thing. You've been laid very low indeed, but don't worry. I've not been hanging around doing nothing these last 3 hours. I actually made some rice porridge for you to shore up your strength. You did? I don't see any rice porridge. I did, yeah. It's still in the kitchen. Let me warm it up for you. Nagi rises to her feet, the hem of her skirt fluttering, then sets off. I hear the sound of a distant clattering in the kitchen, or pots and pans, and then the shuffle of returning footsteps. Nagi was wearing indoor slippers, so her feet don't make very much noise. Her footsteps are cushioned. I guess she doesn't want to get my floor dirty? Not that it matters. My floor is filthy, just like the rest of my room. It should be, at least, but my surroundings look tidier than I remember. My alarm clock isn't the only thing I see that's gone missing while I've been asleep. Ta-da! Nurse Nagi is back on the scene. Nagi appears before me less than 5 minutes after her departure, smiling brightly, and she's holding a tray. This is for you, Ayumu. Eat up! On the tray which Nagi is thrusting at me, there's a bowl of warmed up rice porridge from which steam is gently exuding, and a cup of herbal tea. The rice porridge is a milky white, and the tea is translucent copper color. They both look nourishing, and they smell pretty good too. I can't see anything wrong with this food, but not at a glance at least, but is it safe to eat? I'm not sure if I should eat this. I still don't know who Nagi is. Not really. She says she's my girlfriend, but I don't recognize her. For all I know, she could be a member of a cult. Could this be all a ploy to brainwash me? It's unlikely, but... Well, aren't you going to eat, Ayumu? You look almost as you look almost as pale as the porridge. I wonder how fair of an assessment that is. I can't see my own reflection, so I can't confirm or deny it. I wouldn't be surprised if it was true, though. I do feel pretty rotten. I don't know what to make of Nagi's hospitality, or of Nagi herself for that matter, but perhaps I'd be better off going along with what she wants. I don't want to upset her. What do I even have to be suspicious of anyway? Am I afraid that Nagi might have sneaked a razor blade into my food? That would be ridiculous. I'm not thinking clearly. Ayumu, don't you like porridge? No, it looks really good. I'm sure it'll be delicious. Aren't you going to eat it then? It'll go cold if you keep it dilly-dallying, silly. Right, I'll try a bit of it. Thank you, Nagi. It's no problem. And you don't need to thank me. I am your girlfriend after all. It should be given that I'd looked after you. I suppose it would, yeah. I dip my spoon into my porridge under Nagi's watchful gaze, then bring it to my lips. I blow on it, then I put the spoon in my mouth. So, what do you think? Is it good? I let the porridge linger on my tongue for a few moments before swallowing. It slides down my throat easily as expected it would. It is rice porridge after all, and it's quite watery at that. Nagi must have made it like this on purpose, so it would be much easier for me to eat. That was very considerate of her. I'm not sure if I could handle any food that's too solid at the moment, given how unwell I feel. If I had to describe it in one word, I'd say it's pretty homey. It reminds me a little of my mother's cooking, actually. My mother used to make rice porridge just like this when I was young, and I was too sick to go to school. This was all rather nostalgic. It's good, yeah. Thanks, Nagi. I'm glad to hear it. I know my cooking isn't the best, but I've been trying, and I want to get better, all for your sake. Now, why don't you finish it up? You've gonna get a little more food in you. Aye aye, Captain. I'll do my best. I'd prefer nurse over captain. The latter sounds a little too nautical. But whatever floats your boat. I finished the rest of my porridge, then washed down with a cup of herbal tea. The tea wasn't as hot as I was fearing, and it doesn't scald my tongue. It's quite soothing, in fact. I wonder what exactly is in that tea. Where did Nagi get it? I don't recall buying any loose leaves. I'm not a big tea drinker. Maybe she brought it from over her house? There we go. That wasn't so hard, was it? I'm very proud of you, Ayumu. Nagi smiles at me angelically after I've finished eating, as though I've succeeded in accomplishing a truly difficult task. You'd be tempted to think, based on the way she's carrying on, I've just run a marathon, which, given how I feel right now, wouldn't be an impossibility. The porridge might have bolstered my strength, but there's no way in hell I'm ready to throw back my covers and start working out. Well, it was easy to eat your food. You're really good at cooking. Well, I don't know about that. There are better cooks out there than me, really. All I can really do is follow recipes. I'm not particularly gifted in the kitchen, but I've been working hard to make food that's worthy of you. Worthy of me, you say? Yeah, you're a great guy, so it's a pretty tall order, but I'm not gonna give in. I'm not quite there yet, but I'm sure I'll improve. Nagi flashes me a peace sign, then takes my tray from my bed. I think she means to take it to the kitchen, but instead she sets it on the bedside table, then says, "This is the least I can do for you, really, given how hard you work. You need to eat a lot of healthy, nourishing food, and you need to get a lot of rest. Do you hear me, mister? Otherwise, you won't be able to finish the latest chapter of Crimson Fantasia by next Friday." Crimson Fantasia? Why does that name sound so familiar? I'm sure I've heard it before, but it's hard to place it. My brain feels so fuzzy. I have thought Nagi's rice porridge would give me strength, but it's not having much of an effect. I still feel wretched. Yes, Crimson Fantasia. Fortunately, Nagi is with me. She seems to know even more about me than I do, at the moment at least. I want to see what's going to happen, and I'm sure all of your other fans do too. The last chapter ended on such a cliffhanger. I absolutely have to know what's going to happen to Eris. You can't kill her off. Not now that she's finally reunited with her sister. She's barely had a chance to talk to Harmonia yet. There's still so much unspoken between the two of you, and Eris's fight scenes are the coolest in the whole story. I'll be really upset if she doesn't emerge from her scrape with the Arcanists alive. Oh, right. Nagi's just thrown a bunch of impenetrable sounding character names at me, but I think I'm beginning to see at long last what she means. Crimson Fantasia is a web novel I've been working on during the last 3 months. I borrowed a bit of inspiration from Sushi Mirui's incredible popular Elf Forest series, but Crimson Fantasia is much darker. Crimson Fantasia stars an average Japanese boy called Haru who, through a series of unfortunate happenstances, winds up being reincarnated in a magical world called Grimoire. Once in Grimoire, he meets a plucky young sorceress, Eris, who was raised an orphan in the slums. Eris looks your 10-a-penny ragged orphan, but she's actually a direct descendant of a royal family. One half of a set of twin princesses who were torn apart for unknown reasons. I know Crimson Fantasia sounds an awful lot like Elf Forest based on this synopsis, but I'm just painting in broad brushstrokes. They're actually not that alike. Haru isn't as forgiving as Itsuki is, for one thing. He has quite the temper on him, something which Eris, who isn't shy or retiring, has to take him to task for. Then there's Eris herself. Unlike Elf Forest's Princess Luluna, who is beautiful and kind but during battles quite useless, Eris participates in fights alongside Haru as his equal. She's proficient in wielding a large number of weapons, but she prefers to use a scythe. I know scythes are pretty derivative in and of themselves, but I think they look cool, so whatever. I think it's fine. If Nagi knows about Crimson Fantasia, I suppose she must have read it. I wonder. Are you a fan of Crimson Fantasia, Nagi? Oh, Ayumu. What sort of question is that? It was an earnest one. My mind is still all muddled. I can tell. I'm starting to worry that you've forgotten everything. I haven't forgotten about Crimson Fantasia or its fan base. You like it as well, don't you? How can you ask that, you big dummy? I know you're trying to be modest, that's one of your most appealing traits, but you don't need to worry about that. Not around me. You said you should know by now that I don't just like Crimson Fantasia, I love it. Oh yeah? Yes, I'm its #1 fan and it's saying something, given it's become so popular. I was there first, however, before it became so big. I was leaving you supportive comments right from the very beginning on your blog. That's how we ended up meeting, remember? That day you emailed me, asked me out for a coffee, was the most precious day of my life. I know, I was so excited. I thought my heart would burst, like, for real. I felt like I was meeting a celebrity. And, in a way, I guess you are. You're quite the big shot. Huh? This sounds plausible, but I have a few doubts. Is Crimson Fantasia really that successful? Only in my dreams. No matter what Nagi says, I don't think Crimson Fantasia has ever been very popular. I've sunk endless hours into that story, but I don't think it ever caught on. A few kind people commented on the story in the beginning saying it seemed promising, but even these regulars dropped off past the 10th chapter or so. I adored my story, but the public at large didn't seem to care very much about it, if at all. It was much harder to get any meaningful attention than even a cynic like myself had imagined. I was a nobody, really. But she, at least, was there for me. She commented on every single new chapter of mine, even when I surpassed the 50 chapter barrier. Her screen name was Nankiko. I remember it well, because I always looked forward to her feedback. Her comments were detailed, well considered, and earnest. She asked me a lot of questions about Crimson Fantasia's world setting, the characters, philosophies, and their developing relationships. I thought her enthusiasm was pretty cute. Well, I'd say she, but I never actually knew Nagiko's gender. I just assumed she was a girl based on her screen name. I can't remember sharing any private emails with Nagiko, and I certainly can't remember meeting her in public. But if a smiling girl sitting at my sick bed is anybody, it makes sense that she would be Nagiko. Did I pluck the courage to email her after all? If so, that's pretty impressive. Go me. I'm not as socially awkward as I thought. So, if you're Nagiko, I can feel my thoughts whirring inside my head like clockwork. Piecing together this is quite a struggle. That must mean you really are my girlfriend then. Yes, that's right. What else would I be, silly Ayumu? I'm your girlfriend and I love you lots and lots. I love you so much, in fact, I'm going to do my best to nurse you back to tip-top fashion, or my name isn't Nagi, and it looks like you could use it too. Now let's see how your temperature's doing. Nagi leans in, then presses her forehead against mine. Her lips are very close to my own, to such a degree I can't help but think about kissing her. Nagi peers into my eyes curiously. Our faces pressed perilously close, while I, not knowing what else to do, sit there, feeling like a stone statue. I was hot already, thanks to my fever, but I even feel hotter now. My palms are starting to sweat. I can feel Nagi's breath against my cheek. It's very soft, and though I know I'm being silly, it feels quantifiably different from how my humdrum everyday breathing somehow. Something about Nagi's irrefutable femaleness is amping this interaction up to 11. Why am I shaking so much? Her forehead is like ice against mine. I might as well be pressing myself against a window pane in the winter. Doesn't blood run through Nagi's veins? She looks so perfect, I wouldn't be wholly unsurprised. She's so pretty. She might as well be made of plastic. You do feel pretty warm, yeah. I guess there's nothing else for it. You'll have to just go back to bed, mister. Is that an order? It's more of a request, really. I can order you around, however, if you're into that. Should Nurse Nagi tell you to lie back down on the double? You could, yeah. What if I refuse, though? Then I'll have to give you an injection. That's what naughty boys who don't listen to their nurses deserve. You don't want me to hurt you, don't you? Do you? I know Nagi's joking, but the casual way she talks about hurting me makes me flinch. It brings back memories. I remember. But no, that was just a bad dream. I don't want to think about it. Or perhaps I would be better off sleeping after all. Stay awake. No, it's alright. I already slept a lot. I don't think I'm ready to snatch 40 winks just yet. Are you sure? You'll never be able to shake this sickness if you don't get enough rest. I'm worried about you. Nagi's eyes bore into mine. They look very large, almost all-encompassing in a way, and I swallow. I could get lost in those eyes if I let myself. I don't want to let my self-appointed nurse down, but no, it's fine. I appreciate your worry, but I'm a grown man. I can look after myself, more or less. You say that, but I know better. I Beg your pardon? Now that was an unexpectedly harsh tone. Does Nagi have some dirt on me or something? You heard what I said? You say you can look after yourself, but who's the one who let his shower get all grotty, huh? Who's the one who left that huge box of potatoes on your parents shipped you from the countryside under your bed for months and months until they started sprouting feelers? Who's the one who never cooks and on the rare occasion he tries, he peels his fingers or gets eggshells in his omelets, huh? Who could that be, Ayumu? I'm sure I have no idea. Well, shit. I didn't know Nagi's face could do that. She doesn't look very cute now in the midst of chewing me out. But maybe I deserve it? I am a disaster of a human after all. I'm sorry, Nagi. I know I'm pretty awful at looking after myself. No, you don't say. And I'm glad I have you around to clean up after me. Really, I am. I appreciate everything you've done for me. You're too good to me. Wait, what? Really? Do you remember everything now, Ayumu? Not entirely, no. I can remember the way my apartment used to look, though, which was something of a squalid hellhole, and that's being rude to squalid hellholes. If Nagi's the one who painstakingly swept my floor clean of an empty soda bottles, junk food wrappers, and worn clothes, then she's even better than my girlfriend. She must be some kind of goddess. I remember that you've done a lot for me, yeah. I know you're always putting me first, which is very sweet of you. You don't have to worry about me right now, though. I'm running a bit of a fever, sure, but it's not that serious. I'm not about to die. You don't need to keep me in bed around the clock. So you say. But I'm afraid if you don't keep your close an eye on you, you'll start pushing yourself too hard. That's why you need to rest. I'll be fine. Simply being with you is restful enough. Nagi stammers, then blushes. I didn't think that corny line would actually work on her, so I'm pretty surprised. I know I've written much more romantic lines in the past in Crimson Fantasia in the quieter, more serious scene exchanged between Haru and Eris. I don't have much experience with relationships, at least, until I met Nagi, so working on those scenes always took me a while. It was like pulling teeth, only it was even more excruciating. I can't think of anything worse than making a clueless virgin write romance scenes. Are you sure about that, Ayumu? I'm quite sure. I'm getting tired of staying in bed, actually. It's starting to make me feel a little bit insane. So, why don't you help me out? You took time making that rice porridge for me, so I might as well do the washing up. Wouldn't that be fair? I hate washing up the household chores in general, but it seems important that I volunteer my services to Nagi. I don't want her to think I'm a complete waste of space. Nagi, however, doesn't seem too impressed by my suggestion. She doesn't thank me. Instead, she tuts. Don't be silly. You're much, much too tired to wash the dishes. I'm tired, but I'm not that tired. I can handle a few chores. You might be able to handle it, but that doesn't mean you should. You ought to leave everything to me. That's why I came here, dummy. I did it to look after you, so you can recuperate as much as you want. You really should be sleeping. But if you're really not tired, maybe you can sit in the kitchen with me while I do the washing up. We can talk if you want. can tell me about the latest plot development you have in mind from Crimson Fantasia. That would be fun. It's not a bad idea, I guess. It sure beats staying in bed all day, languishing. Are you sure you want to hear about the next chapter though? You don't want me to spoil it, do you? I don't mind. You're always bouncing plot ideas around with me. It's nothing new. Do I indeed? I can't say that I recall that, but then again, I don't recall much of anything. I shouldn't question it. Alright, now let's do it. Yay! Let me get started on the dishes, then you can come with me, Ayumu. I'm really pumped to see how Aris is going to get out of this one. Nagi helps me out of the bed with all the consideration you might show an elderly grandparent. Her right arm snakes around my waist and her chest presses against mine. She's close enough to me that I can feel her hair on my cheek. I let Nagi lead me to the kitchen, although, in actuality, I don't think I'm so very sick that I need her help. Her thoughtfulness is appreciated though. She's being very gentle. Nagi settles me down at the table, then turns to the sink. She turns on the tap deftly, in a way that suggests a familiarity with my kitchen, and sets to work. The water cascades against the basin of the sink in a regular manner, like rainwater down a gutter. Nagi begins to hum to herself as she washes up. It's a light, lilting sort of hum, something distinctly melodic. All the while, the pot in the sink begins to fill with water. I watch captivated as the water bursts in banks, then spills over to the sides of the pot into the plug hole. Nagi continues her work like this for a brief while, unimpeded before she speaks up. So, Ayumu? Nagi glances at me from over her shoulder, still smiling. What's going to happen in the next chapter of Crimson Fantasia? Inquiring minds are simply desperate to know. Aris was in a pretty tricky spot when chapter 63 left off. Things were kinda looking dicey. I can't see how she's going to fight her way out of this. Not when Haru's been detained. There's no way you can kill her off though. She's much too important. I wasn't planning on killing Aris, no, she's a central part of the story. Without her, Haru would be totally lost. He relies on her a lot, just like she relies on him. They're pretty codependent. Well, I knew that much. The relationship is pretty cute, really, even if Aris is too proud to say that she likes him. That's another reason why she can't die here. I won't accept it. She has to at least confess to Haru first, otherwise, all that hard work you put into establishing the relationship would have been for nothing. Of course, I consider that too. I don't want the conclusion of Haru and Aris' romance arc to be unsatisfying. I still have a lot of plans for Aris. Her story isn't nearly over yet. I'm glad to hear it. But how's she going to escape then? She won't get the last minute power-up, will she? No, I don't think. That'd be a bit too cliche. I was thinking of having Harmonia rescue her, actually. Oh! That'd be a great way to re-establish the relationship. I know Harmonia wanted to get to know her sister better, but she's never really had the chance. She's too busy with all the princessy stuff, and anyway, Aris is so aloof. Aris has to learn to set their differences aside though. I don't think she'll ever be happy otherwise. I agree with you there. I want to give Eris and Harmonia a chance to make up with one another properly, and having Harmonia save Eris from a life or death situation seems the best way to go about it. Harmonia would probably feel obliged to act. In any case, given Eris is her twin sister, she's felt guilty ever since Eris was cast out of the palace because of that silly prophecy. She wanted to help her sister for years. But I'm having some doubts about this story beat. You are? Yeah, it seems a bit derivative, I guess. I know there's a similar scene with Astra and Cornelia in Elf Forest as well, and, well, Harmonia is a princess and her parents are very overprotective. They never let her leave the castle. She was only able to sneak out before because she was disguised, but her guards captured her and brought her back. Now her parents know all about her old escape route. It'd be even harder for her to get away. I'm not sure if Harmonia would be able to escape the confines of her chamber to see her sister, and even if she did, would she really be able to stop the Arcanists? Harmonia knows a bit of magic, but she's nowhere near as strong as Eris. In a battle, she'd probably be a hindrance. Maybe in a normal fight, she'd be standing up for her own sister though. I think that'll give her a boost. I guess, but it doesn't really solve the initial problem, however, of getting her to the fight in the first place. Oh, it's fine. I'm sure you'll be able to figure something out, Ayumu. You're a genius after all. I think genius is overselling me a little bit. And I don't think it's selling you enough. You've written a lot of Crimson Fantasia, and in such a short space of time too. And I think it's all super impressive. The characters are all so lifelike. They feel just like real people, especially Haru and Eris. They have so much depth. They have so many hopes and dreams. And the fight scenes are really cool too. If anyone can think of a satisfying conclusion to this arc, I'm sure you can. I mean, obviously you can. You're the one who invented this whole universe. I guess? My reply comes in is non-committal. I appreciate Nagi's support, but would Nagiko really say all that? Nagiko used to praise Crimson Fantasia a lot, but her praise wasn't wholly devoid of constructive criticism. She would always tell me when certain story elements didn't come together. She complimented my work on the characters just like Nagi did, but she thought the drama I introduced in chapter 34 and Eris' long-lost sister Harmonia was sloppily executed. In fact, I don't think Nagiko ever much liked the inclusion of Harmonia in Crimson Fantasia. She said Eris' relationship with her sister took too much attention away from her budding romance with Haru. As much as Nagiko liked Crimson Fantasia, she never called me a genius either. Not like Nagi just did. I'm certain of that much at least. But am I imagining that? My head is starting to hurt again. I don't know what to think. But I do know, despite my misgivings, that something isn't quite right about this. Nagi's smile looks all of a sudden disconcertingly inorganic. The air about me begins to hum, as though full of 1,000 languishly buzzing insects. Reality seems to shift, to warp, and then... Ayumu? Nagi looks at me, her brow creased in concern. She's still standing by the sink, and in one hand, she's holding quite a sharp, hefty knife. She must have been in the middle of cleaning it because that silvery blade of a knife is damp with water. A few clear crystalline droplets of water roll down the shaft of the knife, then pull at the junction where the blade meets the handle. Nagi's fingers are wet, so is the front of her blouse. I watch as round pearl-like droplets roll off the knife, then fall through the air. It's almost hypnotic. I find myself staring at the sharp blade of Nagi's knife and the water that's trickling down it until my head begins to ache. A dull, buzzing sound fills my skull. I feel like I'm on the brink of remembering something, but... Ayumu? Looking worried now, Nagi casts the knife into the sink, where it lands with a dull metallic clatter and rushes over to me. She reacts. She rests her hands on either side of my chair, effectively fencing me in, and leans towards me, her damp chest inches away from my own. Ayumu, are you alright? I look at Nagi dazedly. Her face is inches away from my own. Her eyes are really huge. All of a sudden, everything feels like too much. The walls in my kitchen are cramped, claustrophobic. It feels like they're closing in on me. I can't breathe. I close my eyes, squeezing them shut in an attempt to steady myself. I inhale slowly, then exhale. I can smell mold and mildew. I can smell decomposing food, unwashed clothes, and the stunt of dirty skin. I can smell copper, rust, and blood. My eyes are beating inside my skull in tandem with my heart. My stomach churns. I feel like I'm going to vomit. Ayumu? But the moment passes. My eyelids flicker open, and once again, my eyes meet Nagi's. They're so full of concern, practically pregnant with it, that I feel guilty for worrying her. Some boyfriend I am. I'm sorry. I just felt a little lightheaded. That's all, but I'm fine now. You don't need to worry about me. Well, of course I'm going to worry about you. I care about you. I know you want to act tough and all, but you don't need to put on a front around me. I can see right through you. You're feeling sick again, aren't you? Maybe a little? I knew it. Nagi sighs. You guys are all the same, I swear. You're all so boneheaded. You like to act tough even when you're unwell, until it gets too much and you can't keep pretending. By that point, however, it's already too late. You're awful at asking for help. Now, let's get you settled again, beneath your sheets. I'll not have you overexerting yourself. Not on my watch. I'm actually feeling a little better since that strange experience I had, but I doubt anything good will come from telling Nagi about this. I don't think she'll listen to me. She looks too annoyed. For such a slender girl who isn't particularly tall, she's surprisingly stern. Alright, you know best. I wouldn't want to make my nurse worry, so I'll try to take better care of myself. See to it that you do. I can help, but there's only so much I can do. It's with this stern rebuke that Nagi helps me to my feet. She guides me back to my bedroom. Her left arm wound my waist to steady me. I let her walk to my bedside, and I let her sit me down. She pulls back my covers in one deft movement, swift, smooth. She pulls back my covers in one deft, smooth movement, a bit like a magician, and obediently I lied on my back. There. That's much better. You should be safe now, Yumu, so don't fret. I'm going to keep a really close eye on you, see? I'm not going to let anyone hurt you. Not while I'm around. Not even you. Nagi giggles to herself, then bends her hair, cascading her slender shoulders. It looks like she's reaching for something, but what? I watch on, my interest peaked. There isn't much else to watch in my small bedroom, which has been scoured clean, as Nagi retrieves a mysterious object from the ground. It's woolen, whatever it is, and it's comprised of numerous pastels, baby blues, and pale pinks. Its shape is strange and indeterminable, immutable almost, and I can't quite place what it's supposed to be. In Nagi's fingers, she's holding a pair of spiked implements which, if their ends weren't so blunt, might be good ways to torture somebody. I wonder what they could be. Hey, Nagi, what's that? Oh, this? I just thought I'd do some knitting. You know, it's one of my hobbies. Do I know that? I'm not sure, but I probably should. I hope this isn't bothering you, Ayumu. Oh, no, it's fine. I don't mind. Please, feel free. That's what I'd like to hear. I'll do some knitting then, so while you lie down. Do you want to have a nap? No, not just yet. I'm not tired. Are you sure? You look a little drowsy to me, but if you're not ready to nod off just yet, I suppose I can turn the TV on. I don't know what's airing right now, but that should be more interesting than staring at the walls, or at least watching me knit. I think watching Nagi knit is pretty interesting myself. She's awfully dexterous with her fingers. Fingers which are long and slender, almost like needles themselves. A shiver runs up my spine, and unnerved, I glance away from Nagi. It's not like Nagi's fingers much different from my own, even if her skin is paler, but they don't look quite right. They remind me of a doll's. Do they have too many joints? That's ridiculous though, surely. Ayumu? Is something wrong? Oh, no, I'm fine. Let's see what's on TV, shall we? Sounds like a plan to me. Nagi retrieves the remote from my bedside table, then switches the TV on. The TV is an old boxy set, more than a dozen years out of date, and a picture flickers quite a lot. I never really bothered watching it myself because the shaking picture made me feel seasick. I think I can endure that right now though. I feel so sick already, I doubt this old TV will be able to make things much worse. Nagi flips through all the channels idly, past the news which she deems to be too depressing, and some documentary about lions on the Serengeti, which she says is too violent, until she settles on some kids' cartoon. It seems to be a magical girl show based on the designs of the characters. The main cast is comprised of elementary school-aged girls with wide eyes and big bright hair that reminds me of plasticine. It's fairly cute, I guess. It's so inoffensive, a bit like Nagi's homemade rice porridge. I'm not really into kiddie stuff like this, but I can deal with it. Is this alright, Ayumu? It's fine, I guess. It should be able to distract me from my sickness if nothing else. I wish the screen wasn't flickering so much though. Good. Let's leave this on then. I'm pretty fond of this series actually. You are? Yeah. Who doesn't love magical girls? I was really into this stuff when I was a kid. I wanted to be a magical warrior myself one day. I wanted to save the whole world with the power of love. I even wrote that on my career survey back in first grade. I think my teacher was a bit bemused, but what did I expect? That's what all little girls want to be. So how did that go? Were you able to make your dream come true? Well, none of my wishes were on shooting stars have come true just yet. I still haven't met my own fairy and I haven't been given a transformation item. I did figure, however, that I don't need to save the whole world. That'd be quite an undertaking, huh? My love might be boundless, but my energy isn't. I can't be everywhere all at once. Clack, clack, clack goes Nagi's knitting needles. But I can be by your side. That's all I want, really. Then you're going to be my magical girl? Well, why not? It sounds like a worthy challenge, especially since you're so bad at looking after yourself. Hey, was that really necessary? All's fair in love and war, Yumu. And anyways, you know I'm right. You were in a really bad state before you met me. I worried what might have happened to you if we'd not started dating. Clack, clack, clack. But we don't need to worry about that, because I'm here. I'll always be here. That's what magical girls do. I thought you were my nurse though. There's nothing stopping me from being a magical nurse. I guess not, no. I wonder what that would look like. Me too. I might have to sketch an idea. You can draw? You know I can draw, silly. Why do you think sent you all that fan art of Eris? Good point. I can remember that at least. The art that Nagiko sent me of her renditions of Crimson Fantasia's main characters was very precious to me. It made quite an impression. Nobody else had ever drawn me art of my own characters. Not before nor after. I was so elated when I received those drawings and I couldn't stop smiling. I was on cloud 9 for a whole day, for the whole day. If anybody had seen me, they probably would have thought that I looked creepy. And maybe I did. I didn't care though. That was the first time I'd ever felt so happy. This warm feeling floods my stomach once more as contented I look back at the television set. This episode looks to be an important one. The main magical girl, whose name is, of all things, Pumpkin, is facing off against what I assume is the final boss? Is this the season finale? What an episode for me to start on. Pumpkin stares at her rival with narrowed eyes and she says, I can't let this stand. I have to save... I won't give up her dreams. The colors on the screen are a little distorted, so is Pumpkin's voice, but I think I understand what's going on, more or less. I continue to watch the show, and Nagi continues to knit. The regular clack 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 of her needles acts like a backdrop to this action on screen, and it's quite a soothing sound. It merges with the sounds of my own heart breathing. The irregular static of the television set. My eyelids begin to droop. I think I must have begun at some point to drift off. But I'm swiftly snapped back into consciousness by a series of harsh electronic beeps. That sounds familiar. Is that my phone? Somebody must have been trying to call me. I clean forget when I was looking for my clock earlier about my phone. Its existence has slipped my mind. Now I can hear my phone ringing, however. Now that I can feel it vibrating against my upper thigh, I'm surprised it could have evaded my attention for so long. Why didn't I think to check it earlier? I reach into my pocket, my fingers curl about my phone, but before I can retrieve it, Nagi looks at me and says, "Ignore that." Huh? I look at Nagi's nonplussed. What's the matter? That infernal buzzing is the matter. Don't bother with your phone, Ayumu. I doubt there will be anything important. Just hand it over to me. There's a good boy. You're too sick to be taking any calls right now. But nothing! Nagi's face distorts, but it only lasts an instant. She inhales. Then she says very calmly, "I'm saying this for your own good, Ayumu. Don't look at me like that. I would never, ever do anything to hurt you." She sounds pretty insistent about this, but then again, so does the mystery caller who still hasn't hung up. My phone is still buzzing in my pocket. I can feel it juddering against my fingers of my right hand, which are pressed against it. It would be easy to take my phone out of my pocket then answer it, but it would be equally easy to hand my phone over to Nagi, and she seems so worked up about this for some reason which is escaping me, that I don't want to upset her. She is doing this for my sake after all. What should I do? Answer your phone. Nagi might have not been happy with this, but the continued buzzing off my phone is making me wonder. I'd like to discover who's calling me, and at the very least so I can determine whether it's something important. What if it's one of my lecturers from university wondering where I am? Granted that, though it does not make me feel a little sick, sicker than I already am, I mean, I don't think there's anything to be gained by avoiding this call. It's with this thought in my mind that I extricate my phone from my pocket, then check who's currently calling me. I was hoping looking at the callers would shed some light on the situation, but it's an unknown number. Well, that's not very helpful. It's probably just a scam call then, but I might as well take it just to be sure. I accept the call, then press my phone up to my ear, then address them. "Hello? Who is this?" I'm met initially by a low hum of static. I can't hear anything on the other side except the line beyond a faint buzzing that sounds like flies, no matter how I try to strain my ears. Was this a waste of time? "Hello? Hello? Who is this?" I try again, repositioning the phone against my ear as though this might help, and at the moment I do, I hear it. Somebody's crying. They're crying my name. "Ayumu! Oh please, Ayumu!" It's hard to identify the speaker, given the call is modulated with static, but their voice sounds familiar. It's a female voice, that much at least I can discern. It's like high-pitched and breathy, and it sounds stricken. "Ayumu, please, wake up!" Huh? What do they mean by that? Did I mishear them? The line's so bad that it's not beyond the realm of possibility, but I think that's enough of that. A frowning Nagi reaches out. Before I have a chance to formulate a reply, and plucks the phone from my hand. I thought I was gripping onto my phone pretty tightly, but Nagi was able to wrest it from me without too much effort. Tight-lipped Nagi looks down at the caller. She clicks her tongue. Then she hangs up. What a waste of time. Nagi stashes my phone in her own skirt pocket, then plants her hand on her hips. You shouldn't have answered that, Ayumu. I told you not to. You're in no fit state to talk to other people right now. And anyway, it's only upset you. But what? But Nagi... I look at Nagi at my girlfriend uneasily. I can't see my own expression, of course, but I can feel it twisting. I don't know who was calling, but they sounded really distressed. They were calling out to me. They told me to wake up. What do you think that means? It doesn't mean anything. It's just a prank. Don't pay it any heed. It was probably one of your friends at university playing pretend. Goodness. People can be so inconsiderate. They must have too much time on their hands if they think teasing you is a good use of their time. I've half a mind to phone them back, to give them a piece of my mind. But I don't want to give them the satisfaction. They don't deserve it. Well, let's not talk about this anymore. The less said about your so-called friends, the better. Other people are all annoying. Let's not worry about them, alright? Right. I'll try. I'll try to forget about them then. Good. I'm glad to hear it. The matter of the mysterious caller settled, a giggling Nagi returns to her knitting. I watch her, my head propped up on my pillows, and Nagi manipulates her needles through her amorphous pastel creation. Clack, clack, clack. The sear sunlight which spills through my windows catches the edges of the needle, so they seem to flash. The regular repetitive sound of Nagi's needles puts me in mind of cracking bones. Nagi looks content enough, poring over her knitting, but my own feelings of uneasiness remains. My stomach is churning again. What's going on here? I'm sure there's more to Nagi than what I might initially seem. Something more beyond her cute pom-pom earrings and her sweet smiling face, but... Clack, clack, clack. I can't think of... what's happening. I can't think of what that something more might be. I don't know who she is, but maybe I'm afraid to know. I'm afraid to ask her. I don't want to hear the answer. I should just keep quiet. It's easier to pretend that everything's alright. I'll let the sound of Nagi's knitting wash me over. Clack, clack, clack. And with the sightless, unseeing eyes, I turn my attention back to the television. Some time passes like this. I don't know how much until Nagi eventually sets her knitting down. She stretches, raising her slender arms above her head, then says in a lilting sing-song, My, it's getting late. I must have gotten carried away. Nagi turns to look out the window as I do. I didn't realize it being so engrossed in the TV screen and in the sound of Nagi's knitting needles, but the day really has flown by. It was a light azure blue beyond the panes of my windows when I looked, but it's not now. The sky is pitch black. I suppose it's true what they say. Time flies when you're having fun. Were you having fun? I would have thought you'd been bored out of your mind sitting with me all day. It can't have been all that exciting. Oh no, Ayumu. Perish the thought. Being with you is never boring. You're my boyfriend after all, and I love you a lot. How could I ever find your company dull? I was barely any company. We weren't even talking. You don't need to. Being with you is enough to make me happy, silly. Huh? Is that so? If Nagi is telling the truth, then she must have low standards. I don't think there's anything special about me. I'm awake and alert, much less when I'm half asleep. Nagi must have some sort of agenda here. Either that or she's easy to please. I wonder which is worse. Now. Nagi stretches, then rises. Her back skirt lifts about her. Nagi stretches, then rises. Her black skirt shifts about her thighs, and she smoothed the fabric down absently beneath her palms. I should probably prepare dinner for you, dear. You must be starving. Ah, I hadn't released it until Nagi said it, but she's right. The rice porridge I had earlier is all the food I've had today. I should be a lot hungrier than I actually am. Let's see what you have in the fridge. Nagi heads off to the kitchen, her slippered soles impressing themselves almost soundlessly against the floor. I hear the sound of the kitchen door opening, then a faraway rustle of activity. I imagine Nagi standing by the fridge, bathed in its cool and unnatural light, one finger held to her chin and her brow furrowed in thought. What will she find in there? Is there anything to find? I can't remember the last time we went to the store. I'm surprised she had enough ingredients lying around for her to make that rice porridge. A few moments pass before I hear a faint sound of the kitchen door slamming. Nagi must have given up on her search for sustenance, something which becomes readily apparent when she says after materializing in the doorway. There isn't very much in the fridge. Nothing at least I can really use. I think I'm going to have to go to the convenience store. You don't mind waiting a little for your dinner, do you, Ayumu? Oh, no, that's fine. I haven't taken a look at the inside of my fridge in a while, but I can't imagine Nagi found much more in there beyond a couple of eggs, some slices of plastic cheese, and some expired vegetables. I've been living on cup noodles mostly for the last few months. Those rice and crackers. You can't really go wrong with rice crackers. Though they don't make much for most nutrient. You can't really go wrong with rice crackers though. They don't make for the most nutritious of meals. I'll try not to be too long. I don't like leaving you. You'll be alright on your own, won't you? I'm sure I will. You don't need to fuss. I'm not a child. I know you're not, but sometimes you can be so petulant. Am I being petulant right now? Well, maybe. We'll have to wait and see, huh? Promise me you'll stay here, won't you? Be a good boy now. Yeah, I promise. Hey, don't yeah me, mister. I'm saying this, because I care about you. Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm mad. Nagi's voice is light, but I can sense a threatening undercurrent beneath her words. She sounds very invested in making me stay here, more perhaps than simple concern about my health might dictate. Does she really think that I'm that frail? It's not like I'm going to turn into dust the moment I step outdoors. I'm not a vampire. That's what I'd like to tell her, but something about her expression stops me short. It isn't like it isn't the sort of expression I want to argue with. Right, I'll stay here. You promise? That's right, I promise. Good. I'll hold you to that. Don't forget it, Ayumu. If you lie, I might just have to make you swallow 1,000 needles. Isn't that a little harsh? No, it's a fairly standard punishment, I think, as far as these things go. And in any case, you would deserve it. You might be a wonderful boyfriend, but I won't absolve you of all your crimes. Lying is bad, Ayumu. It's a sin. And lying to a cute girl like me is the biggest sin of all. Huh? Now that's an interesting way of looking at things. Does lying become more grievous an offense the cuter the person is being lied to is? I've not heard of that one before. I'll be off now, then. Stay safe, darling. I will. See you later. But of course, it's not like you're going to go anywhere. I'll be back before you know it, huh? I watch as Nagi bends to put on her shoes. Her hair falls over her shoulder, in the process brushing her cheek. With her shoes on, she then stands, her pale, slender fingers curling around the door handle. The handle shifts, then the lock clicks and Nagi steps out into the hallway. The sound of the closing front door echoes through my apartment. It's slow and dull, and like an audible piece of punctuation. Now that she's gone, I feel relieved. In Nagi's absence, I find that I can finally breathe again. In her company, I found myself forever holding my breath, second-guessing her every remark or movement without being aware that this was what I was doing. Sweet though she might be, I don't feel comfortable around her. I don't think there's more to her than what she's letting on, but I don't know what that might be. She might call herself my girlfriend, but how can that be? I can't remember spending any time with her before, and regardless of how sick I might be, it seems unlikely that my fever would be strong enough to completely obliterate all of my memories. The things she says aren't mapping onto the things I know. I have no idea how she got into my apartment, nor why she seems to know so much about me, but I don't know if I can trust her. I don't know if I can take that risk. I don't know what to spend more... I don't think I want to spend more time with her. What then should I do? Should I sit here in bed like a good little boy waiting for her inevitable, invariable return from the shop, or would I be better served to try and stage an escape? Leave the apartment. I turn my options over in my head for a few moments before eventually I come to a conclusion. I'm going to have to leave. Something strange is going on here. From the persistent static of my television to the crying voice which called me on the telephone, I want to figure out what it is. I'm not going to make any headway on that if I do everything Nagi asks me of. She might call herself my nurse, but she's starting to feel eerily like a prison warden. That being the case, I have no choice but to stage a jailbreak. I throw my covers back, which feel a little damp. I think I must have sweated over them. Gross. And haul back myself to my feet. My legs feel weak, but they don't, to my relief, collapse beneath me. They're just about as strong as I can support myself. Strong enough to buoy me from my bedside and over to the kitchen. I push the door open, which cleaves to my touch with a creak, then step inside. The moment I cross the threshold of my kitchen, however, pain pierces my temple and I double in on myself. My fingers fly to my forehead and I groan. Ugh, what? My vision begins to blur. I blink. I'm not going to pass out, am I? Is my fever really that bad? For a few moments I see, or I think I see at least, the way my kitchen ought to be. I see the sink piled with high dirty pots and dishes, some of which are cracked. The countertops are covered with crumpled empty soda bottles and aluminum cans. The floor is covered in rubbish, so much so I can scarcely see the fake wooden boards beneath them. Flies hum in the air, suspended on silvery wings which beat back and forth. There are flies in the sink. There are flies in the dustbin which is overflowing. One of them lands on my forearm and I cry in alarm. I slap the fly but it evades me. It buzzes off its wings, beating back and forth with a droning hum. A dull pain throbs in my arm, where I slapped myself and in my palm. I must have used more force than I realized. I blink and then... the world has reverted back to the way it was before. The countertops are clean, as is the floor. Everything is impeccably tidy. The plates and cups and dishes all stowed away inside the respective cupboards. My kitchen looks wholly respectable again. It's the sort of kitchen not even the meanest, pettiest of landlords could find fault with. It's a tidy kitchen, undisputably, but it isn't my kitchen. It isn't what I remember. None of this is. The world is warping around me. Why does my head hurt so much? I stagger through the kitchen on uneasy feet, half expecting to step on crumpled pet bottles and strewn packages from convenience store food, and head towards the sink. My fingers, which are white and shaking, grip the edge of the sink for support. With unfocused eyes, I look down. There should be a dirty crockery in here, but my expectations are once again betrayed. The sink is more or less empty, apart from a knife Nagi was washing earlier. She must have forgotten it. That was awfully clumsy of her. I eyed the knife with some trepidation. I can see my own face reflected in its silvery surface. It almost seems to be goading me into taking it. Maybe I ought to bring it with me just in case. Just in case what? I don't know. I feel so unnerved, however. A bit of protection would go a long way. This knife is quite long though. There's no way I'd be able to hide it on me. Maybe there'll be Maybe there'll be a more inconspicuous weapon here somewhere else in the kitchen? My eyes dart here and there until eventually I spot a pair of scissors. These are scissors that are used for cutting meat. They're slotted nearly in a circular pot full of similar utensils, wooden spoons, tongs, and the like. These scissors are smaller than the knife. They should be easier to hide. I think they'd probably fit inside my pocket, or if push came to shove, inside the waistband of my trousers. What should I do? Take the scissors. Taking the scissors might be my best bet after all. I should be able to conceal them fairly easily, and blades should still be sharp enough, but if push comes to shove, to defend myself. I'm hoping it won't come to that, of course, but it never hurts to be prepared. I'm just taking the precautions necessary against an unknown enemy. That doesn't mean I'll actually use these scissors though. I hope I don't have to. It's with shaking fingers that I reach for the scissors, which lie in their pot, innocent and unassuming in their state of disuse, on the kitchen counter. I clasp them, claim them, and slide them into my pocket. I can feel the blades impressing themselves against my thigh even through the fabric of my trousers. They're cold and unforgiving, as weapons tend to be, designed for no purpose beyond cutting. With some luck, they should be able to cut my connection with Nagi too. My decision made, I turn on my heels, then approach the front door. I fully expect it to be locked. Why should anything in my attempt to escape be easy? But to my surprise, the handle twists easily beneath my fingers. The lock clicks and then the door rather anticlimactically opens inward. I sigh, expelling a warm, feverish breath into the cool air. That was quite the surprise, but I'm not sure if it's wholly pleasant. If the door had refused to budge, that would have given me an excuse to give up on my attempted escape. I wouldn't have to take my future into my own hands. It sounds like quite a tempting thought, actually. Surrendering myself to the votive hands of my sweet doting girlfriend. But no, I can't let myself think that way. The door is open, despite all odds. That must be a sign of something, surely. It means I shouldn't stay here. It's time to face reality. Thoughts like this swirl through my mind as I stand there in the threshold of my door, looking out into the hall. The hallway is dark, save for the strip lighting on the ceiling. These lights flicker ominously on and off. I can't see any windows. I don't know what the outside looks like. It's just one long, endless hallway, beige walls and brown floor. Fluorescent lights. The lights are too bright. My eyes are starting to hurt. My head hurts too. Retreating would be much easier, but I know if I did that, I would never be able to forgive myself. I squeeze my eyes shut in an attempt to steady myself. I inhale. Then, I step into the hallway. The door of my apartment swings shut behind me with a dull thud, one that seems almost up a crypt hall. There'll be no turning back now. I pad down the hallway slowly, softly, my footsteps shy of shuffling. I'm grimly aware that every step I take, that Nagi might return, might catch me trying to abscond. I look around anxiously as I walk. Doors pass me by, door after door after door, but they're all shut. The handles are affixed to the doors, look oddly sinister in the dark, in the lights which keep guttering on and off. They protrude from smooth wooden surfaces of the doors like something violent. The light catches on these door handles, dozens of them stretching for infinity, and I shiver. I feel like the hallway is choking me. Where are the stairs? How am I going to escape? Maybe I was a fool to disobey Nagi. I shouldn't have ignored her. She told me to stay inside for a reason. Now I'm starting to think that maybe this was the reason. She told me not to leave because I can't leave. It isn't an option. I want to turn back, but I don't. Instead, I continue to walk. I walk and I walk and I walk until the packs of my feet rub against my shoes and it starts to hurt. My heart is hammering in my chest. I can't hear it. I can hear it reverberating inside my skull. It doesn't stop me from moving though. I keep on walking. I walk, and I walk, and I walk, and I walk, and The backs of my feet are still rubbing against my shoes. It still hurts. My heart is hammering in my chest. I can hear it reverberating inside my skull. That doesn't stop me from moving though. I continue to walk. I walk and 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 I walk. And the backs of my feet are really rubbing against my shoes now. It hurts. A lot. My heart is hammering in my chest. I can hear it reverberating inside my skull. I still don't stop though. I continue to walk. I walk and 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 I walk until I reach what seems to be a bend in the hallway. There's something different at long last. I must be making progress. I hurry onwards, hoping to find the stairs, to find the lift, to find something to help me escape from this nightmare. But, like all nightmares, my attempts of escapes are soon halted. I suppose I should have expected it. I think part of me did. I was just waiting for it. She's here. She has come to greet me. Her irises are cold and hard, like two stones pressed into her skin, and her lips are pursed into a line which betrays not even the slightest flicker of emotion. In one hand, she's holding a shopping basket, a cheap plastic thing from which the Y-shaped head of a green onion protrudes. It's such a cliche, I could laugh. Nagi? I inhale. What are you doing here? Might be a more apt question, but it'd be a pointless one. I know what she's doing here. She's come to stop me from leaving. As for her motives are, however... You have to ask? Nagi's voice, when it comes, is every bit as cold and hard as her expression, devoid of any cheery lilt to which I've grown so accustomed. I'm your girlfriend, Ayumu. I love you more than anybody else in the world, but right now, I think I hate you more than anyone else in the whole world, too. Nagi delivers this without any emotion whatsoever. Her love and her hate are wholly dispassionate. She might as well be talking about the weather. You shouldn't be out here. I told you not to leave. I made you promise. You said you would stay put. Why didn't you? Do you want to upset me? No, that's not... Then, what is it? There wasn't any particular reason, really. I wanted some fresh air. It's an excuse, of course, and a blatantly obvious one at that. It's almost laughable, in fact, given how dark and featureless this hallway is, how utterly devoid of windows. This is a place that seems sealed off from the outside world. There is no fresh air to be had here. It's all shut up and stagnant. What a fool am I? What a fool I am. Nagi takes a step forward. Her hair shifts about her shoulders. Her eyes bore into mine as quietly she says, I don't believe you. Nagi, please. I think you're lying to me. And that is one thing I simply cannot forgive. You've upset me, Ayumu. You've been a very, very bad boy. And bad boys deserve to be punished. Nagi, wait, can't we just talk about this? I cry at Nagi, but to little avail. I don't think she's listening to me anymore, if she ever was. Did she ever care what I wanted? Nagi's face is mask-like. Her eyes are blank and staring, two cutouts of her white featureless face. I grip her on the carrier bag slackens. Her grip on the bag slackens. The bag hits the floor with a dull, almost anticlimactic thud, and then she steps towards me. You promised you wouldn't leave, Ayumu. You promised. How could you lie to a cute girl like me? How could you? Nagi. I say her name, but it feels like a pointless gesture. I don't think she can be reasoned with. Discourse was never an option. I had no choice, really, but to run. I don't know what it is exactly that Nagi means to do with me, but I don't want to stay and find out. It's with a desperate gasp I turn on my heels, almost stumbling in the process. Nagi isn't moving very quickly, but she's almost upon me already. How is that possible? Everything seems to be possible here. Reality is contracting about itself. It's compressing. My world is shrinking. My world is this apartment, and the apartment is under Nagi's control. Does that make Nagi the world? What am I then? Can I really escape from her? I don't know, but I have to try. I run through the hallway after hallway, pain knifing between my ribs all the while. The walls around me are morphing. They're melting. Wallpapers flake off strips around me, as though the apartment is peeling itself like a giant apple. The light fixtures above me blink. They gutter. The world is plunged into darkness before illuminating itself brightly. Too brightly. I blink. White spots burst in front of my vision like fungi. The hallway is undulating. The world is pulsating. It changes so much, but every single step I feel dizzy. It's hard to maintain my balance, especially with Nagi pursuing me. Is she gaining on me? I swear I could feel her breath upon the back of my neck, but I know I can't stop to check. I can't turn around. I dash through beige hallways and blue hallways, garnish orange hallways, and high-ceilinged hallways. The hallways are all devoid of windows. They twist and they turn like plastered, papered, painted rabbit warrens. I can't hear much beyond the sounds of my own footsteps, beyond my own heart beating. There's a faint sound in the background, like running water, and an omniscient, ever-present hum. Flies? My kitchen was full of them. They hovered about the black rubbish bags, which lay decaying upon the floor. I didn't bother to throw the bags away. I didn't try to get rid of the flies. It felt like a pointless endeavor. I endured them instead. I've been enduring a lot recently, but I can't keep doing that. I need to escape. I have no idea how long I've been running. These hallways seem to stretch on forever. I can't make sense out of them. My mind seems to have shrunken during my desperate flight to the size of a walnut. I can't fit any thoughts into my head. They're leaking out of me. It's coming undone. Still, Nagi continues to pursue me. I don't think she'll ever stop. It doesn't matter how fast I run, she'll find me again. Why wouldn't she? She is my girlfriend after all. She loves me. Why? It's with this question in my mind that I finally escape from the maze of hallways which trapped me among them. I descend a flight of stairs, the soles of my shoes slapping against every step, then emerge into a large empty space with beige walls and carpeted floor. I recognize this room. This is the entrance of my apartment building. I need only to approach the glass doors at the end, and I'll be able to escape. That is my plan, at least. But my jubilation soon runs dry when I approach the exit. The doors are glass, and should therefore be transparent, but I can't see anything beyond them. I can't see the street. I can't see the road. I can't even see the sky. Where did the rest of the world go? I approached the doors. They ought to be automatic, but they don't move. Instead, they remain stubbornly shut. Well, shit. So much for that plan. Hey, Ayumu. I can hear Nagi's footsteps behind me. Descending the stairs, her pace is as slow as ever and unhurried. Now I know why she didn't bother running. She knew I wouldn't be able to escape from her. She knew there was nowhere for me to go. What do you think you're doing? Didn't I tell you it was pointless? I open my mouth, but I can't say much more than that. My saliva tastes like ashes on my tongue, and my stomach churns. You didn't need to reply to me. Don't bother. I didn't want to hear I don't want to hear more of your lies. Nagi continues to advance on me, her arms swinging limply beside her. It hurts me, you know, when you run away from me like this. Can't you understand that? Thud, thud, thud goes Nagi's footsteps. Even they sound unforgiving. She's relentless. Let's stop playing silly games. Come back upstairs with me. Let's put you to bed. What were you hoping to gain anyway by coming down here? Didn't you give up on the outside world already? You must have. Otherwise, you never would have been able to meet me. Something about what Nagi just said strikes a chord within me. I feel like I've been drifting ever since I woke up, but something hasn't clicked into place. I can remember what happened. First, there was pain. When it hit me, it was intense. So much so I felt like vomiting. For a while, pain was all I knew. It was all my body was. There was a loud squeal of tires on tarmac and pitter-patter of rain which fell on the damp, glossy road. The smell of oil in the air and the prismatic colors reflected on the puddles scattered about me. There was blood too. An awful lot of it. I hadn't known I had quite so much blood inside me. My temple was cut, my body was crumpled. I could hardly breathe. I didn't want to breathe. People around me were shouting, screaming. Pedestrians clustered about me, stepping through puddles, splashing icy droplets of water about in their wake. Somebody probably called an ambulance. I don't remember that though. This is where everything starts to get hazy. My consciousness began to unravel. Then I passed out. When I finally woke up, hours or days or weeks or months or centuries later, I was here. In this facsimile of my apartment. With Nagi sitting next to me. She said she was my girlfriend. I doubt that though. I never had a girlfriend before and now I'll never get the chance. I was hit by a car. I should be dead. What's going on? You couldn't handle the real world, Ayumu. It was too much for you. There was a lot of pressure on you to perform. From your parents, from your professors, from yourself. It all became too much. You're delicate, so you got scared. You were afraid you would break, so you decided to run away from it all. No. Yes, you did. You know you did. You know what you are. Nagi takes another step forward until her nose is almost brushing mine. She reaches out. You're a coward. Then, her white slender finger sees my neck. Ugh! Reality distorts the moment she touches me. Static hums inside my skull. My head feels like it's going to split apart. My body, sapped of all energy, lists to one side. My head hits the carpeted floor with a thud, just like it did on the roadside, and the stars explode behind my eyelids. I blink. I don't know how much time has passed, but when I finally came to, I see that Nagi is sitting on top of me. She's pinning me in place against the threadbare carpet, her thighs cinching my body in place upon the floor. The fingers of both her hands are wound about my throat, and her fingers are trained upon mine. The fingers of both her hands are wound about my throat, and her eyes are trained upon mine. The grasp she has on my neck is painful, but I think the soulless, empty look in those wide, tunnel-like eyes of hers is even more so. I can't writhe away from her. I can't escape from her. She has me immobilized so effectively, she might as well have driven nails into my palms. Just give it up, Ayumu. Nagi speaks calmly, despite the violence of her actions. She sounds hollow, empty. People like you can't survive in the real world. You weren't made for it. You're too sensitive. Every failure felt like a knife to your throat, and every single setback made you want to cry. Nagi's fingernails bite into my skin. It hurts. You kept picking yourself up as best you can, but eventually, enough was enough. You were weak, like I said, so your enough came before most people's would. You couldn't keep going. Nagi's eyes are so big, I feel like I could drown in them. But there's no shame in that. You already recognized your limitations. That's why you did what you did. I don't need to tell you about your failures. You know about them already. Nagi? Nagi's long, fair hair is brushing my cheek. It tickles. What? Why are you doing this? You should know that already. My answer is the same as it always has been. I'm doing this for your sake. Mine? Yes, yours. I think you'll be happier this way. And deep down, I know that you think the same. Otherwise, you never would have stepped out into the busy road. Isn't that what you wanted? Is it what I wanted? I don't know. I don't remember. I don't think I want to remember. My thoughts are all a blur, but Nagi's word has jostled something in my memory. She said I walked into the road. It can't have been an accident then. It was something I did on purpose? And that isn't something a happily well-adjusted person does. I haven't been happy or well-adjusted in a long, long time. I was trying to forget about that. I wanted to forget about it, but... Ugh. It's all coming back to me now. I can remember what I did. I remember who I am. I'm Sato Ayumu, a second-year student at a small, relatively unimpressive university in Tokyo. I've always been quiet, so I've never been very good at making friends. I didn't have any friends, in fact, at university. My first year was lonely, but I still attended my lectures. I still got my essays done, and I completed my end-of-year exams. I did what was expected of me, and when my parents called me, which they often did, to check up on me, I told them everything was fine. I said I'd been having fun, but that was a lie. I was tired and stressed and overwhelmed more often than not, and I was sad with it because Everybody else seemed to be enjoying themselves, but I wasn't. I didn't know how to enjoy myself. It was partway into my second year that I gave up on everything. Going to my lectures stopped feeling like a worthwhile endeavor. It didn't make me happy. I don't think anything could have cheered me up beyond human interaction, but that was impossible. I was too awkward. I didn't know what to do, so I retreated in on myself. I shut myself away inside my apartment because that was easier than going outdoors. It was easier than making an effort to change. I didn't take out the rubbish, so it overflowed. I didn't clean up my apartment, so it started to stink. I opened the windows during the summer when it was so hot and muggy I felt like I was melting simply lying down in my bed, but that let the flies in. I rarely brushed my teeth, barely showered, and hardly ever changed my clothes. There wasn't anything I wanted to do, so I didn't do anything. I didn't go anywhere. I didn't speak to anybody. I just lay in my bed for days on end, scrolling through the internet on my phone or my laptop and reading through some of my favorite light novel series. I had no plans, obligations, or responsibilities. This absence of external stimuli should have cheered me up, and for a few days, it did. The knot of my anxiety, which had been my near constant companion throughout my time at university, began to lessen. Finally, it felt, for the first time in a while, I could breathe. But the air, when I breathed it in, stank of rancid food and of my own unwashed body. My eyes began to sting and my head pounded. I got headaches all the time back then. Maybe it was because of the smell. It was putrid. I'm surprised the people living in the apartments across the hall didn't complain about me. In time, my abundance of time began to feel more like a curse than a blessing. There were too many hours in the day and I didn't know how to fill them. Without lectures or essays to worry about, I had no idea what I was supposed to do with myself. Until I reread Tsuchumi Rui's Elf Forest. That was when I hit upon an idea of writing a story of my own. The story set in the fantasy universe bearing some similarities to Elf Forest, but of my own devising. I had the idea of Crimson Fantasia for a while. I'd toyed with the idea of writing it, but always managed to talk myself out of it. I thought it'd be a repeat of my time spent trying to blend in with everybody else at the university, that my best efforts would all be in vain. Nobody cared about me during the day-to-day in the real world. Why would anybody care about my stories either? Telling it seemed pointless, but I had so much time, I had to do something with it. I suppose that's why I started to write Crimson Fantasia. I didn't have anything better to do. I wrote and I wrote and I wrote like a man possessed, and I soon realized once I began that writing was pretty fun to while away the hours. It made the days pass by more quickly, and it gave me a real sense of purpose. I'd hammered out most of the details about Crimson Fantasia's plot and characters already, so I didn't hit any major stumbling blocks. I didn't have to scramble to think up any of ideas, and I didn't have to sit there agonizing while I wondered where the story should go. I already knew most of that. I just needed to get the story out of my head and onto my laptop in a format other people could experience. I wanted other people to experience Crimson Fantasia too. I'd put enough effort into it, so much so keeping it to myself would seem like a waste. I repurposed this old blog I'd had ages ago, back during high school, into a place to upload Crimson Fantasia. I uploaded my story chapter by chapter, sometimes updating thrice weekly, and I waited, my breath bated, to see what sort of responses I'd get. I wasn't expecting miracles, of course. I didn't genuinely think, despite my daydreams, that Crimson Fantasia would attain the same level of critical and commercial success as Elf Forest. Who was I in comparison to Tsuchimirui? Nobody, really. I was just a university dropout with an overactive imagination. I told myself when I first began to share Crimson Fantasia that I'd be happy if only 1 or 2 people read it. Then they didn't even need to leave any comments on it. I just wanted to know that my stories was out there in the world, that a few people knew it existed and liked it. That would legitimize my efforts. It would prove that writing it all wasn't a waste of time after all. My desires were fairly humble, or so I thought. And within the first few days of posting Crimson Fantasia's first chapter to my old blog, they were actually exceeded. Crimson Fantasia's first chapter was viewed 42 times and received comments, 3 of them in fact. I can't remember 2 of these 3 comments. They were vague words of support, very brief and perfunctory, but I remember the 3rd. I'll never forget it. That was the first comment I ever received from Nagiko. Her feedback, I've always thought of Nagiko as a girl, was far more in-depth than which the other 2 commenters had left. She typed up several paragraphs exploring her feelings towards the story, its setting and its characters. She praised its oppressive atmosphere of the story and how much detail I had gone into when rendering Haru's personality. Nagiko said she thought Haru was a pitiable sort of character, but she found him compelling. She promised me she would be waiting for the future chapters eagerly because she couldn't wait to see how Haru would develop. She wanted him to use his second lease on life to become stronger. And she wanted him to be happy too. Naturally, I was elated that my story had prompted such emotional response from its readers, and such a lengthy one at that. I thought about that review for days afterwards. Whenever it crossed my mind, I smiled. It was Nagiko's early support that encouraged me to keep working on Crimson Fantasia. I reworked the earlier chapters which I had yet to publish, polishing until they shone. I began to make some changes too, to alter the later chapters, to place more focus back on Haru's struggles as he traversed the world of Grimoire. I posted new chapters semi-regularly and Nagiko commented on all of them. Sometimes it took her a day or 2 to leave me a mini review, but she always did. She always did it. She was as reliable as clockwork. She gave me regular feedback for months on end. 2 months on end. In fact, during which I uploaded almost 50 chapters of my sprawling magnum opus. It didn't do anything during these months, beyond writing Crimson Fantasia. I wrote, and I wrote, and I wrote, fueled by Nagiko's praise. But this idyllic period didn't last forever. These things never do. It was on chapter 53 of Crimson Fantasia that Nagiko stopped leaving me feedback. 1 day passed, then 2, then 3, and still, Nagiko said nothing about the newest chapter. Well, I tried to tell myself these things happen. Maybe she's busy. I didn't know a thing about Nagiko's life, but I knew she did have one beyond Crimson Fantasia. She could have been working night shifts. She could have been studying for exams. She could have been on holiday. I told myself to be patient and I waited. A week passed, 2 weeks passed, eventually a month passed, but Nagiko still didn't leave a comment on chapter 53 of Crimson Fantasia. I'd written more chapters in the interim and published them, but Nagiko did not give me feedback on any of these either. Neither did anybody else. I had to put a huge amount of effort into rendering the world of Crimson Fantasia, but nobody seemed to care. Not even Nagiko. For 3 months of my life, I had done nothing but work on Crimson Fantasia. And to what end? I had been forgotten about. Nagiko stopped caring about Grimoire and about Haru and about his adventures. She, who had been my most ardent, steadfast supporter, drifted away from my world and from me. And I think that realization is what broke me. I stopped caring about my characters. I stopped caring about my story. I stopped caring about myself too, which is probably why I did it. I stepped out into the middle of a road, just like Haru in the first chapter of Crimson Fantasia, and also like Haru, it was not a mistake. My actions were cold and calculated. I probably caused the driver of the car who hit me untold trauma, but I didn't care about them. I was only thinking about myself. I just wanted to escape. You wanted to be happy, right? Well, you can forget about that. You'll never be happy in the real world. People are thoughtless and selfish, and they only ever think about themselves. They don't know how hard your life is for you. And even if they did, they wouldn't care. Nagiko didn't care, but I do. I'm better than she is. That's why you should stay here. Nagi's fingers are gripping my throat tightly, enough to burn, but her hair is, by contrast, very soft, like a lover's embrace. She said that she loved me, but I still have my doubts. What is that love based on? After all, you're not Nagiko, then. I'm not. No. You never did pluck up the courage to speak to her, though. You really, really wanted to. You did fantasize about it a lot, though. You wanted to talk to her, didn't you? You wanted her to be a pretty, homey girl who would support you, not just with your writing, but with the rest of your life. You wanted her to cook for you and to clean for you. You didn't want her to leave you. You thought, with every message that she sent you, that she might, one day, fall in love with you. And that's why you created me. Aren't I your ideal woman? Isn't that what you want? I open my mouth, perhaps meaning to counter, but Nagi interrupts me. Don't try to argue with me, please. It's a waste of your breath. And that is a precious resource you can't really afford to waste. I know what it is you want. I know everything that you think. You can lie to everybody else, but you can't lie to me. What? Then that means... I stare at Nagi with such intensity my eyes threaten to escape their sockets. I can't see my own face, which is probably a blessing, but I wouldn't be surprised if my skin is beginning to turn blue. It's hard to breathe, but I still try. I need to know before I succumb to Nagi's aggressive affection. What exactly is she? She is. Is any of this real? That depends on your definition of the word. I'm sure it feels real enough at the moment, but your judgment might not be the best. You did lose a lot of blood. Your thoughts must be all jumbled. I'm sure this has all been very confusing for you ever since you woke up. But I know this world isn't quite the same as the one you're used to. Nagi's fingers are still wrapped around my throat. She hasn't relented at all. If anything, I think she might be squeezing me even harder. Is she trying to prove her love to me? If so, her love is pretty intense. But if this is a dream, why fight against it? Reality is no good. That's why you started to write stories. You couldn't cope with the world, so you had to retreat into your own. You couldn't control your own life, but you could control the lives of your characters. You never had to feel anxious or unsure when you were writing, because it was all predictable. You planned everything out. You were content with that for a while, but in the end, you got greedy. You wanted more than a made-up happiness. You wanted somebody to love you. You tried to endure your loneliness as best as you could, but everybody has a breaking point. You couldn't keep going. Please, make it stop. So, you tried to put an end to it. It hurts too much. You tried. I can't keep enduring this. But you failed. You made a mess of things, just like you make a mess of everything. Nagi, please. But that's alright. I still love you, no matter how much you screw up. I love you, no matter how pathetic and pitiful you are. I'll love you while you're still clinging to life, and I'll love you even after you've died. I've always loved you, Ayumu, like nobody else can. I don't have any choice in the matter. I was born to be in love with you. It hurts so much. I thought I already died once, so why? Oh, so why don't you let me do that? Stay with me, Ayumu. I'll take good care of you. Nothing will ever hurt you again. All you need to do is obey me. Don't fight me. You don't want to break my heart, do you? Nah. My vision is beginning to blur. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. It hurts. But Nagi said she was going to take care of me. If I agree to stay with her, will she let me go? Will she make the pain go away? I don't want to hurt anymore. I'm tired of hurting. I've been hurting for such a long time and nobody noticed. Nobody cared. Nobody. Nagi. I can't abandon her, can I? Fight Nagi. Giving in to Nagi's demands would be the easy option, but I still don't think it's the right option. I've been doing what's easy for the last few months, and it hasn't made me happy. If anything, it's only succeeded to make me feel even more miserable. I thought I'd be better if I kept away from people, but I'm starting to doubt that. I don't want to stay indoors anymore, hiding from the world. I don't want to run away from reality. I thought I was ready to throw my life away. I was wrong. I don't want to die. I don't want to disappear. There's still a lot more I want to do. I want to tell my parents how much I appreciate them. I want to dry my mother's tears. I want to write more words too, even if nobody's there to read them, not even Nagiko. She might have lost interest in Crimson Fantasia, but I haven't. I don't want to betray my dreams. I don't want to betray my characters. I have to keep struggling, just like Haru. And it's this, though, which spurs me to take on an action quite unlike any Haru would ever take. He's a gentleman, so he would never hurt a girl, but I have no such compunctions with Nagi, not with her fingers wound around my neck. If she's not going to play nice, I won't either. It's not like it matters that much anyway. Nagi isn't real. I made her up. She's a construct, just like Haru and Eris and Harmonia, and I've put them through a lot worse. I made them suffer horribly for the sake of Crimson Fantasia's story. I can do the same thing with Nagi. I won't let her stop me. My fingers crept surreptitiously to my pocket where my scissors are stashed. My eyes narrow with determination, and then... Ayumu? What are you... I strike. Ugh. Ah. I pull the scissors from my pocket as quickly as I'm able and thrust them upwards. The scissors plunge into Nagi's cheek and, like a banshee, he shrieks. Nagi stumbles back, one hand clasped over her face. Nagi's shoulders are convulsing. Red, sticky blood is seeping between her splayed fingers. It drips against the carpeted floor like falling rain. Drip, drip, drip. Nagi's fingers are slick with the stuff. It might as well be strawberry jam. Her face, however, is ghostly white, the same color as flour. Her chest rises and falls erratically beneath her blouse. Aghast, she glowers at me and says, You'll regret this, Yumu. How could you? How could you? I only did what I have to do. My voice is remarkably calm, despite the adrenaline that's coursing through my body. I wipe my scissors down my shirt, then get to my feet. I look down at Nagi, who's slumped on the ground, still bleeding, and say, Don't act like you wouldn't have done the same to me. You were trying to choke me. I was trying to help you. Yes, I know. That's what you thought. But staying here isn't helpful. I'll never get anything done like this. You hypocrite. You were the one who shut yourself away in the first place. This was what you wanted. I wanted to make your dreams come true. Everything I did for your sake, and this is how you repay me? How could you? I'm horribly heartless, I know, but I still don't think I owe you anything. I mean, you're not really my girlfriend, are you? You're just a phantom I created. Nagi might have taken on the form of a cute girl, but she's nothing more than a shadow. She's my shadow. Sorry. I know you meant well, but this... I look around the apartment foyer and the flickering lights and the flashing exit sign. This isn't what I want anymore. I might have given up on my goals, my ambitions, and even my stories. But the real Nagiko is still out there. She told me she wanted to read the rest of Crimson Fantasia, so I can't disappoint her. I want to give it a satisfying conclusion for her sake. But she doesn't care about you, Ayumu. Not like I do. She abandoned you. Maybe she did. It's alright though. I don't need her approval to keep writing. I don't need anybody's approval. I still want to keep going. I want to finish what I started, at the very least, and that means I can't let things end here. So, you're going to go back? You're going to subject yourself to being alone and to being miserable in a world you can't stand, to finish off some stupid story nobody else cared about. Yeah, I guess I am. I guess it sounds a little silly when you phrase it like that, but it's not true, you know, that nobody cares about Crimson Fantasia. Nagiko doesn't. Well, maybe she doesn't. I do though, and I'm not so jaded that I've given up. Even if you have, I want to see how my story ends. It would be a waste not to. I let my scissors drop to the floor and glance about. I'm breathing heavy, more so than I have in a long time. It's been a while since I exerted myself like that. It's been a while since I exerted myself in general. I don't often leave my apartment, so is that why I found myself trapped here? In my half-formed embryonic dreamland? I came over the last few months to associate my apartment with safety. Nobody ever came to visit me, and nobody ever called me. Apart from my parents, and even then, it was sparingly. I didn't have to answer to anybody other than myself, and I never held myself accountable for my actions. I didn't want to. I couldn't handle the outside world like Nagi, so I succinctly said. So I hid from it. By sitting in the same spot, unmoving, I was, in essence, running away. But I'm tired of running now, though. I've spent too long in this apartment already, in the real world. I don't want to be stuck in my dreams too, not with Nagi who's still bleeding on the floor. Her perforated cheek is still oozing blood. Blood would change its colors with the flickering of the lights overhead. Sometimes her blood looks black. At other times, it looks bright red. Her lips, meanwhile, are pursed, like a princess's from a fairy tale. She looks like she's waiting for a kiss. I know if I bent down to grant her request, I might be able to take all of her pain away. I'm sure that she would forgive me for hurting her. She has no choice in the matter. I'm the one who created her. She is my delusion. Just like Eris and Harmonia, she exists to love me, which is, I suppose, a nice enough fantasy. I can't say I dislike the thought of being doted on by a pretty young girl like Nagi forever and ever, but would it really be satisfying when her love isn't real? This is a daydream I could do without. It's finally time to wake up. Girlfriend Simulator. Wake up.